Hey Frugal Force, this is Captain Frugal, and I'm here getting out my next issue for the Avengers Retrospective, issue 3. And here is the comic book room. It's a complete disaster right now because we're in the process. I'm moving comic book rooms. I had another room that was the comic book room, and all of it's getting moved in here, and I still don't even have all of it up here. I still have several thousand comic books in the other room that I've got to grab. And see, so what we do is we store our comics in file boxes for the most part. I still have this one I gotta fill up. I gotta buy several more because, as you see, I'm transporting them. I have more file boxes downstairs, but I still need probably about 8 more file boxes. So I'm slowly re-putting all of them up in there. So they're, believe it or not, these are actually in order and stuff. But some need bags and backing boards and stuff. And some of this stuff I'm gonna be doing flashback videos from like toys and stuff and talking about them in games and stuff. We're going to see more videos and all that. But I got to get to my Avengers books here. Let's see. These are Spider-Mans. That is Amazing Spider-Man. And we just load them up. Let's see. These are the Captain America books files. So I just put them all in here. These work really good. If you do get the file boxes, though, make sure you get the ones that are flat in the front. If you don't get the flat ones in the front, they can mess up your comics. So what I suggest doing is, sorry for lying here, they'll look like this, and they'll hurt your, I know the light isn't great, that'll hurt your comic book. So put a board there, so it makes it flat, so it doesn't hurt your comic book. See, as I said, I'm in the process of transferring. Like this file drawer here, this cabinet has 162 through 399 of the Avengers. This says More Avengers, Volume 2, 3, Hulk. So I gotta find issue number 3 in here. I believe it's in that bottom drawer there. I gotta move some of this stuff out of the way because, as I said, I'm currently moving everything up here. So anyway, after I get that issue, get it out of the drawer there, I'm gonna scan it, and then I'm gonna give you the Avengers Retrospective, issue number 3. I hope you enjoy it. So here we go. Alright, Frugal Force, here we are. I do first of all apologize for it taking so long for me to get to this. I actually did have the whole thing done, and I accidentally deleted it with the file of all of its contents and everything to make it as well. So here we are with issue number 3 of the Avengers. And look at this cover, 12-cent cover. I want to point out, this is great. First 1-point perspective here. If you look, the perspective will be right in the center of the group of the Avengers, and it fans out from there. Why I like this so much is it really lets you see most of the characters in an exciting way. It says the Hulk and the Submariner versus the Avengers. This is the issue you've been waiting for. One of the greatest battles of all time. You know, and that's a great point because, I mean, look at this. You've got two very strong, very powerful people. I mean, the Hulk, for one, against the mighty Avengers. So I don't know about you, but I'm ready to dig in. Alright, so if you look here, when we get right to the beginning, we have a funny advertisement. You've heard about it, you've read about it, all transistor wristwatch radio. Loud, clear reception guaranteed. You have to admit that is sort of cool, especially considering the time period that you could have a wristwatch radio. Now granted, it was $4.98. Now, just for the record, that's pretty expensive for that time period, okay? That's pretty expensive. That's not just a cheap little trinket there, but that is really cool. So we go from there, from that advertisement, we dive into the page. The Avengers meet Submariner. Notice it's featuring Thor, Giant Man, the Wasp, and Iron Man. We see all those with big pictures of big heads, featuring the Incredible Hulk. But the Submariner, he doesn't come in till page 15, but when he does, wow. Now think about that. Marvel will never do that anymore. They'll put a picture of a character like Wolverine on the cover, and he'll show up in one panel on the last page, but they'll never say he doesn't show up until... At least they were honest there. This book was written by Stan Lee and illustrated by Jack Kirby, and it was inked... let's see, who was that inked it? Rainman? I can't remember exactly who that person is. I don't recall. And lettered by S. Rawson. And at the bottom, it's a Marvel Group superhero extravaganza of superhero stars, because that's how you advertise things. You pump it up, but you be honest. All right, let's turn the page. So here we have the Avengers all huddled around the tables and holding their monthly meeting in the home of Tony Stark. Because yes, before the big Avengers mansion and everything and that awesome boardroom that they created, they actually huddled together in Tony Stark's in his home, which is sort of cool. So anyway, they're having one of their meetings, and you see Iron Man, I tell you, we've got to find the Hulk. So long as he's running around, there's no telling what he'll do. Because remember, still during this period of time, nobody really trusted the Hulk. And Hulk picked up on that once again, and that's the very reason he left. So they're all talking about how to find him. And if you're not sure how that transpired, just go ahead and watch my previous video, or if you can find a book and read it, by all means do that. So you see Anthony Stark, whose home we're using, because remember, at this time, Iron Man still hasn't told them that he's Iron Man. He said using it as home for his meeting is not only a famous weapons inventor, but a master of all kinds of transistor-powered devices, such as this image projector, for example. It will enable me to put a search for the Hulk in motion in just a few seconds. So you watch it, it shows this nifty picture, once again, 1-point perspective, showing it broadcast out. As Iron Man activates the projector, the device works like an ultra-frequency TV set beaming his image in whatever direction he has set the circuits for. Because yes, TVs used to have tubes, and they actually had projection images, rather than what we have the LCD display today, which is going to be lost on the newbies. So though I remain here, my image can be sent to any destination. So he's allowed to send his destination and talk. So he beams to the Baxter building at that time, because that's before they had the Four Freedoms Plaza. They were in the Baxter building at this period of time, and talks to the thing, and seems that pretty much he's not going to be able to help with that situation. He also talks to Sue and the Human Torch and Reed, and pretty much nobody's really available at the time or have seen the Hulk. So it says minutes later, after searching the city at unimaginable speeds, Iron Man finds Spider-Man. And he's webbing up some guys. Look at the perspective of that from down below coming up. That was really cool perspective and art on this page. He says, Spider-Man, perhaps we can enlist his aid. And then we'll turn to the page and see what happens next. So when he meets up here with Spider-Man, you see he says, suffering spiderwebs, I must be working too hard, I'm seeing things. Iron Man says, don't be alarmed, I'm just trying to find the Hulk. And of course, he really isn't really able to help. Look, do I tell you my troubles? I've got my hands full right now. Why don't you try Missing Persons Bureau? I mean, Peter really quips at him pretty good there. And Iron Man's like, hey, thanks for nothing. So then he goes and visits the X-Men, and you see that the X-Men are practicing and training. And you go, hey, where'd he come from? We hear from the Beast, because this is before the Beast was all furry. Remember, he actually evolves and changes. So this is, the original core group of the X-Men. You notice how Iceman looks a lot different back in the day, too. And Professor X is like, what is this? Who dares interrupt the training period? And you'll see that then they have a little conversation here with Tony, Iron Man, and Professor X. Says, sorry, sir, but this will only take a minute. If you happen to receive any word of the Hulk's whereabouts, I'd appreciate your contacting the Avengers. I took the liberty of barging in because the Angel had told me to contact you if I ever needed a favor. And so he didn't just barge in necessarily. He had permission to do that. And here's another thing I really loved about the comic books during this time period. We're starting to see this more in DC again. It'll tell you on that panel when that happened. So it says, see Tales of Suspense, number 49, Iron Man and the Angel. And this was, I think, really great for in case you missed an issue or something like that, you could go back and do it. Now, one of the reasons we possibly don't see this in a lot of Marvel books is because they're writing them for the trade, right? So they didn't feel a need to put them in there. I love it when these things are in there. I think it should happen more often. I like those in the books. So anyway, Professor X says, we shall notify you per your request, if anything happens and that he arrives. So then we look over and we go to the next panel here, and Tony's no longer using the machine, so Iron Man's there talking to the Avengers at the table. So after using that special imager, he's there chatting with them. He said, I'm afraid I wasn't too successful. I alerted the Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, and the X-Men, but they're all pretty much wrapped up in their own affairs right now. And so therefore, Thor says, before we set out on a time-consuming worldwide search, why don't we contact young Rick Jones? In his ham radio group there. And so that's right. So they do. They contact Rick Jones, which probably is one of the best choices in the first place because he has a good relationship with the Hulk. Well, as good as can be. And then you see that they're contacting Rick Jones. And he says, I understand, sir. He might be in this area. It's his old stomping grounds. I'll start searching for him at once. So he starts searching for him. And an hour and a half later, he notices this gentleman here. Says, stay back, boy, stay back. Don't come any further. There's some kind of monster loose back there. biggest creature I ever saw. I'm going to notify the police right now. And of course, Rick Jones realizes, Hulk's old stomping ground, huge creature, it's probably the Hulk. And so he looks into it. There, he's right. What's he looking for in the lake? And then Hulk pulls it out. Here it is. I knew I'd find it. Some fool stranger drove this thing right into the lake and ran off as soon as he saw me. And that's that guy that Rick Jones was just talking about. So let's turn a page and see what happens next. So Rick Jones says, the police will be coming after you soon. You've got to return to your cave, to the Hulk. And Hulk's like, oh, why should I run? I've done nothing wrong. But people are scared of you. You know that. In the panic, they'll try to destroy what they fear. And really, that's the whole thing with the Hulk. It's people don't understand something, they fear it. There's a really underlying message to the Incredible Hulk series about how we fear what we don't understand and how we act against things that we don't understand. It's a really great, tragic story, really, if you think about it. So, anyway, Hulk takes Rick Jones' word, and they travel. And so he jumps, he gets on his shoulders, and Hulk leaps. Because remember, Hulk can jump for miles. So in a short time later, they enter a hidden cave, which leads deep under the ground. I'm sick of running. Why should I fear other humans? I can smash them all. Now think about that. There's a good point. Hulk is powerful enough to truly smash anything that opposes him. But he doesn't. Reminds me of a lot of powerful people in good positions and that they can do a lot of harm. Think about like Dr. Martin Luther King, where he had the ability to get together and motivate a large group of people, and he always did it in a non-violent way. I wish we could see more of that today, unlike things like Antifa and things where they rally together with violent intent. It is really sad. So anyway, Rick Jones says, you don't mean that the Hulk is tired, you need a rest? Because, Hulk can get tired. Come on, but he does last a long time. So as soon as the incredible creature stands in front of the strange ray machine, a machine built by the man he once was, which was, of course, Dr. Bruce Banner, he hits that machine, boom, and it takes that and transforms him back into Bruce Banner, which he's tired, and he gets it put back into bed in the vault that sort of holds him and contains him. And then we move to the next page, and we have some of those goofy fun ads that we all love. Draw any person in 1 minute. Pretty much all it is it takes the picture, puts it through a viewer, and puts the light up to recast that so you can trace it. So it's a tracing tool. Greg Land would love that. And then we have an a kite advertisement, which is something you don't see anymore. All right, I'm going to turn the page. Let's see what happens next. So anyway, Hulk is battling for control of Bruce Banner here, and Hulk decides to pretty much take over, and he decides to bust out. And Rick Jones tries to stop him, but of course he can't do it. So Rick runs to his team brigade there. Let me at the set, condition red, and he contacts, of course, Iron Man. And Iron Man says he's going to be at it at once. And Iron Man contacts the other Avengers. So you see, of course, Ant-Man, Hank Pym, and the Wasp. And we see Thor as they ready themselves to come and stop the Hulk or capture him or whatever it may be, because they're not really sure what to do at this point either. So here on the next page, you see that Iron Man finds the Hulk. And of course, you know what that means in the mighty Marvel manner. A fight is going to happen. And so the Avenger in the iron garb gets his answer on a staggering second later. Wham! As the Hulk punches him. Look at the power of that punch. Could you imagine that? Man, the Hulk the Beast hitting him, that would be just devastating. Recovering from the blow that would have finished any human not protected by an armored suit, Iron Man quickly manipulates his short-range power repulsor, and then one brief transistor-powered energy blast should give me a few seconds time to think of a plan. Because yes, if you're going to come at the Hulk, you should have had a plan. Now granted, Tony probably should have had a plan earlier, didn't you think? I'll direct my beam to those boulders in front of the Hulk. This won't stop him, but it sure will slow him down. I mean, you see those boulders zinging by. Hulk like, bah, is that the best you can do? I mean, isn't that cool? Look at them. He's holding on to that cactus. as the rocks are zooming by. And then he gets up. The Hulk doesn't need an iron suit to get his power. He sure is right about that. If I can force some of these cactus needles into the opening of his suit, they may put him out of his action. And look at that. He squeezes the cactus and pushes it forward, making it like a gun, shooting the cactus needles. How cool is that? I mean, that's really quite imaginative. And so we see those needles all flying at Iron Man, but he blocks him with a rock. But meanwhile, you see Ant-Man and the Wasp flying up, and they see it. Since they're shrunk, these are like giant needles coming at them. So they have to get out of the way. And so they go underground into an anthill. And of course, they do what they do. You see that. Why don't you turn to Giant Man, Hank? He can do lots more than a tiny Ant-Man can. And, there's that thought that size and strength solves everything. But remember, that's what makes Hank Pym an interesting character. He's very smart and realizes that sometimes using just strength and size isn't the answer. Now, sometimes he does mess that up too as well. But in this one, he's being smart. Wrong, Jan. Even Giant Man can't match the Hulk's strength. This calls for cunning. So obeying the orders transmitted by Ant-Man, the diligent insects drop countless pebbles into a fast-rushing underground stream. Let's see what happens next. And before I get into the next page, I just want to say, my partner here, American Dream, my little girl, decided to pop in and hear a little bit about the comic book, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So here says, while above, Iron Man continues to try to reason with the Hulk. And Iron Man says, we don't want to fight you, Hulk, but we can't let you run amok through the countryside. You've got to stay with us. Work with us as a team. And Hulk's like, no, you can't fool me. You all hate me, fear me, because I'm the strongest. If I stay with you, you'll find some way to destroy me. Because in the past few issues, Hulk and the rest of Avengers really had a trust issue. Hulk didn't trust him. Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they were always seemed like they didn't trust him. They were always watching him, and that really bugged him. So it says, meanwhile, directly under the Hulk's feet, the pebbles have dammed up the underground stream, and rushing water have no place to go. Because remember, Ant-Man was taking, rushing all those ants through and making this happen. And it burst to the surface, causing the ground underfoot to crumble. Look at that. Look at all that water, American Dream. Wow, yeah.
Yeah, that's a big pool of water.
Yeah.
I go in the pool first.
Yeah. It says, that must be the work of Ant-Man to trap the Hulk. That's what Iron Man said. But the plan proves to be in vain, for the Hulk's unbelievably strong leg muscles catapult him to safety. He jumps so high. Look at him jump. What do you think of that?
Good.
Yeah. And Hulk says, here's what I snapped the armor plate off of yours like a tin can. Wow, he's going to snap the armor off him, he says. And Iron Man's like, hey, don't count on it. But just then, Thor comes in. And Iron Man says, did I ever tell you about my magnetic repulsors? How they can spin a body around in the air attracted by his iron content? So he's spinning Hulk by his iron content in his blood. And Thor's like, hey, let me have at him, Iron Man. But dizzy from the rapid whirling, the Hulk, because you see him spinning all over the place, he has endured the Hulk's seizes a natural rock formation below and uses it to break his spin as Thor appears on the scene. He says, hey, this will slow me down. And so there we have Hulk on the ground now with Thor and Iron Man in front of him. And Thor says, hear me, Hulk. I am not as merciful as Iron Man. I order you to return with the Avengers or suffer my wrath. I don't know about you. Barking orders at the Hulk?
Computers.
Yeah.
Computers.
Is barking at the Hulk, do you think, is a smart move? Would you tell the Hulk what to do?
Who is this?
Yeah. All right. Well, Hulk says, just wait till my head clears long hair, and then we'll see who does the suffering. And then Thor says, careful, Thor. He's capable of anything. And then before we turn to the next page, we have a page of goofy advertisements, like learning how to throw your voice for 25 cents. Silent dog whistles. You can get a musical jukebox pink. Magical cards. See behind glasses, where you can see what's behind you. Learn jujitsu. I can't say that, can I? You could get a transistor radio. All kinds of goofy little stuff. Exploding hand grenade toy, which today you would never be able to buy.
Yeah.
You get some trouble.
Computers.
Okay, should we turn the page? Let's turn the page, okay? All right, so let's turn the page and see what's next. All right, so now we're at the next page, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and we start here. We have a close-up of Hulk. And Hulk says, Tin Man, you don't know just how capable I am, and now I'm going to give you a demonstration. And look at Hulk. He jumps up through the air so high, and the Avengers follow him with Thor and Iron Man. But then Hulk goes, I was hoping you'd do that. Now, while you go up, I'll crash down again. And Hulk crashes down. And you see there by the time they figure out which tunnel I am, it'll be too late for them. And look, what's this? Is that a train?
Yeah.
Yeah, a train. I thought I heard the train rumbling overhead. Just what I need. So Hulk grabs the train. And so there you see Iron Man and Thor fastly following behind him. There he goes. We've got him now. They're faster than I thought, said the Hulk. There's got to be some way to make him stop hounding me. Notice this whole time all Hulk is trying to do is get away and be left alone?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So look what he does. He throws a piece of the train at him. Look at it. So he throws a hunk of the train at him to slow him down, and Thor and Iron Man are able to bust through, and they continue pursuing the Hulk. If that didn't stop you, this will. And Iron Man's like, Hulk, wait! You can't keep this up forever. You can't fight all of us. You can't battle all of mankind. And Hulk says, who says I can't? And so, look, he throws more at him. So now Thor's also coming at him, but Hulk wraps them all up in some cabling. And so that temporarily detains the Thor as well. Hulk says, maybe so, but I'm not going to hang around and wait. Giant Man, where'd he come from? So now Giant Man's on his tail too. See Giant Man? He says, he doesn't know that I followed on the flying ant and then took a growth capsule to become Giant Man when I reached the train. So that was pretty tricky of him, isn't it?
Yeah. He put squint.
Yeah. All right, so you ready for the next page?
Yeah.
All right. It says, so here we are. We see Hank Pym says, those flour bags you grabbed from the freight car won't do you any good, Hulk. You can't get away from me. And Hulk says, that's what everybody says, but no one's caught me yet, big man. And so you see, that overgrown arm of yours ain't too big for me, Hulk. The Hulk to jump over. So Hulk jumps right over Hank Pym's enlarged arm. And Hulk puts the flour in the train. He says, now all I gotta do is shove this flour into the smokestack like this. Oh, look at all the smoke that comes up because of that. Because of the flour blowing all over from the smokestack. So Hank Pym's like, so that's why he took the flour. He's created a smoke screen. I can't see. Now think about this. The Hulk is smarter than a lot of people give him credit for, isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, people always think he's completely stupid, but Hulk is actually can be pretty cunning at times. And now look, while Hank Pym can't see, they go under a tunnel, and since he's so big, he doesn't see that he's going to run right into the wall there because the overpass, he's too big for it, and smack, look at that, whoom! Talk about some damaging pain as he hits that. And Hank Pym's getting up and says, he's gone. I failed. And so we see all the Avengers, they get together realizing that they were not able to catch him, not even all together. And we turn to looking at the next page, and we have another goofy fun advertisement for the Hypno coin. Could you imagine having a coin, American Dream, that would hypnotize people? In other words, make them do whatever you wanted? Yeah? Would you like to be able to have mom and dad do whatever you wanted?
Yeah.
I bet you would. That'd be troublesome. Well, why don't we turn the page and see what'll happen next? What do you think? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, everybody, I hope you enjoyed. I had a little guest there visiting from American Dream. And just like the Submariner, she doesn't appear through the whole issue. I'm going to go over this next 2 pages a little bit quick to avoid copyright striking. I got to be a little careful. I'm not a comic story, and I don't read every panel. I summarize and talk about how this comic relates to comic books today. But anyway, Hulk got away. He's in the back of a truck. He ends up swimming through the river, gets picked up by a boat. Meanwhile, Submariner is using his communications information and technology. It says, but now our scene shifts to the secret undersea chamber. And we see a Submariner say, so far everything is working perfectly. Little does the Hulk realize that his every movement is being followed by the monarch of the sea, Prince Namor the Submariner. The Hulk's strength will return sooner than the humans suspect. And when it does, and when he abandons the ship, I'll be waiting for him. Because remember, all Hulk wanted to really do was get away and be left alone. So then, it says, true to Namor's prediction, the matchless strength of the Hulk does return in a short time. And then, the small desert island, just a place for me, because Hulk wants to be left alone. So he swims to the island, and then he runs into the Submariner. He says, get off this island, fish man. I'm sick of looking at puny humans, sick of the sound of their voices. And Submariner says, brainless dolt, you call me human? I am Namor, Prince of Atlantis. Because remember, if Namor's anything, it's pompous. And he always has been. Hulk grabs him. And Namor's like, you dare lay a hand on me? And he shows his strength by actually getting out of Hulk's clutches. And then Hulk slams him to a wall. And it hits him with a rock. He says, this will quiet you down for a while, like forever. And Namor says, you still think you are dealing with a helpless human? Don't you? Well, we shall see. And let's look at the next page and see what happens. So when we turn to the next page, we notice Namor is not taken out, because Namor also is very powerful. And he gets up and comes at the Hulk. And the Hulk says, nothing stronger than a Hulk, not on land, sea, or anywhere. And the fight ends up tumbling into the water. Now you know in the water, Namor is stronger in the water than he is above ground. As he gets dehydrated, he actually weakens. So he's even much more powerful underwater. And he uses that as his benefit to take down the Hulk. And as he sees Hulk pulling Hulk out of the water, says, I trust I have my point made clear, Hulk. You are the strongest of land creatures, while I am completely invincible within the sea. We both share a burning hatred for the human race. If we act together, we can bring humanity to its knees. Hulk says, you mean you want me to team up with you? Well, maybe it ain't such a bad idea at that. You're pretty tough for a little guy. Namor says, the humans are my sworn enemies. Because of them, I have lost my birthright, my people, everything I hold dear. And you can find that in the Fantastic Four Annual #1. Once again, those wonderful notes at the bottom showing how those things transpired and where to go to get that information. We see a boat coming up. Then it's agreed. Our first mission shall be to deliver a smashing defeat to the accursed Avengers. I shall summon my electronically controlled command ship to take us to the destination. So as you see, Namor's got that little controller device, and he makes that ship come, and so Hulk's in the ship with him. And then we see thought bubbles of what they're really thinking while they're next to each other. Hulk's thinking, I'll string along for a while, then smash him when he's off guard. And then Namor, he's too strong, too undependable. When he's served his purpose, I will destroy him. So secretly, they're both planning and plotting to take each other out, because neither still trust each other. They're very similar in that regard of having a lack of trust for people, aren't they? So anyway, we go back to the Avengers headquarters, and you see Iron Man. There's no doubt about it. The message is genuine. Submariner and the Hulk have joined forces and challenged us to battle. Okay, because they sent them that message, and Thor, of course, is always for it. And he says, this time there can be no pulling of punches, no mercy asked for, given, yes, by Asgard. This time we fight to the finish. And Wasp, I hope it won't be your finish, handsome, because I'm still waiting to see what you'd look like in an Ivy League suit in a crew cut with those shoulders, those eyes. Because, well, he's I guess a really good-looking guy, and the Wasp has no issue with that. And then we see the jealousy of Hank Pym. Aren't you ever going to grow up, Wasp? Haven't you anything else on your mind? Well, happy day. Do I finally see a glint of green in those blue eyes of yours? Which makes you wonder, really, if all this flirting and things that Wasp was really doing at this time really isn't because she's that interested in those people, because she truly loves Hank. It's to get Hank jealous so he starts paying more attention to her. So when some people think that she might have been a little bit overly goofy and flirty, I personally, from reading it, in my opinion, always thought she was doing that to try to get Hank Pym's attention, because he's always focused on his science and other things. Let me know in the comment section what your thoughts. Is Wasp really flirting with those guys, or was she just trying to get Hank's attention? Or am I completely wrong? All right, let's turn to the next page and see what happens next. So when we turn to the next page, it says, not long afterwards, 3 of the world's most powerful evil smashers arrive. And it's with this experimental prototype model of deep sea jet, machine here. Look at this thing. It is pretty goofy looking, right? It's pretty wild. And here we are. That Tony Stark sure can build a sub. Wish we could have a talent like that, like his in the Avengers. Not realizing, once again, that Tony Stark is Iron Man, and he's the one truly building this stuff. So the Avengers are coming at none other than the Hulk and Namor, which Namor and the Hulk are prepared for them. So it says the Wasp is right for directly in front of the Avengers. This is a waste of time. We can't stop them with an old howitzer shell, says the Hulk. Once again, showing his intelligence. I mean, really, think about that. And Namor's I'm aware of that, slow-witted one, but it might make Thor hurl his hammer. and as soon as it leaves his hand, we strike. So it was actually a pretty cunning plan. And what do we see next? We see the Hulk. But Mighty Thor does not hurl his great weapon. Instead, stand back, all of you. And he's getting ready to swing his hammer at this projectile. And Iron Man yells to Thor, "No, Thor, it won't affect us, but the explosion may injure the Wasp. Let me handle it." Because, he's going to hit a warhead with a hammer, for crying out loud. Probably not the smartest tactician at that point. Even though he is a great fighter, go figure. I guess it's just he wasn't realizing that, hey, he's that much powerful, more powerful and durable than everybody else. So Iron Man uses his repulsors to save the day and move that shell so it doesn't hurt Hank Pym and the Wasp. And so we cut back to Namor and the Hulk. And Namor says, "Duck, you ponderous, slow-moving clod! You must not be injured while I have need for your brutish strength." And Hulk's thinking, he thinks I'm just some kind of stooge, but he'll live to regret those words before I'm done. And then Namor pulls out a gun. No one knows how many transistor-powered weapons Iron Man has at his control, and so I shall put him out of action first, like this. So he's pulling that out. In other words, he summons up the Iron Man he thinks is the biggest threat. And on the next page, of course, is another funny, goofy little advertisement. I'm not going to go over that one, but I have to too much. But I will say it's always interesting. They always wanted you to sell grit, and you can earn these prizes. I wonder how many people actually sold grit. If anybody of these people are watching this ever tried to sell that grit, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear about that. All right, so let's turn the page and see what happens next. So when we turn the next page, we see that Namor has fired the gun, and we see Iron Man say, "He hit me with an emery dust pellet. It'll make my metal joints stiffen as I never expected." Now notice the artwork on here, how bright it was. It looked super yellow. At first I thought it was a coloring error, but if you look, his boots were actually red. So it was the pellet that made that color, which pretty much instantly drops Iron Man. Thor says, "Go to his aid, my giant ally. I shall keep our two foes at bay with my enchanted mallet." And Hank looking there says, "Never saw anything happen so fast. He's stiff as a board. Wasp, fly through these caves quickly. See if you can find an old abandoned oxygen equipment which may still be operational." And of course, Jan jumps to his aid and says, "Will do." And so Thor throws his hammer, and you see it binging off all the walls and everything at Namor and the Hulk. And as it returns back to his hand, just 58 seconds later, because back in this time period, if he had the hammer away from out of his hand for more than 60 seconds, he would return back to mortal form, which is something you don't have anymore. This was really a cool kind of thing. So his mallet, he calls it, "To me, my wondrous mallet. Good work, Wasp. Just what I wanted." Wasp brings back that oxygen tank, and they're going to pump that in through Iron Man's armor to get that dust out so Iron Man will be back in action again. Meantime, you see the Wasp that says, "They're up to something else. I've got to follow." So she's following the Hulk and Namor. Together, they are so powerful, I am worried for the first time. So notice this is the first time we're really starting to see Wasp be scared about something, about how dangerous of a threat this really is. We cut to Hulk and Namor, and Hulk says, "The Avengers are just on the other side of this wall. Now stay back, fish man. I'll show you what the Hulk can do." And Namor, in his thought bubble, you can see, he says, "I'll humor this thick-skinned fool for now, while I still need an ally." So once again, remember, he is definitely planning on turning on him. And the next page is just advertisements. We're going to skip past those and turn the page and see what happens next. And if you didn't hear all the kids in the background and their excitement and playing, I'm sure you probably couldn't because of Hulk's heavy-handed smash when he busts down the wall. "Cover your ears, little man. They'll hear this halfway to Calcutta." And he hits it so hard you see the Wasp get shaken. Not having time to take cover, the unseen Wasp bears the full brunt of Hulk's savage, eardrum-shattering blow as the tiny adventuress suddenly blacks out. And you see her seconds later still dazed. The only be pebbles, but they're like huge boulders to me because she's so tiny right now. We see then the Avengers running, but before the Hulk can launch another blow, his effort to bring the walls down upon the Avengers, the fighting mad trio thunders towards the source of the sound. And we see little Wasp down below. "They don't see me. I'll be trampled." So remember, she's tiny. They don't know she's there. Luckily, the ground was uneven and Iron Man almost stepped on her, but she evaded it. She then flies up. "I've had enough of being a lone wolf. I'm not leaving Giant Man's shoulder again till we're out of here." Probably a good move if you're about to be stepped on. Then we cut back to another Namor and the Incredible Hulk. And it says, "Your fists are too slow and bestial, partner. I have modified that old raid alarm so that it'll shrill high piercing blast that will destroy any living being who comes too close. And then as suddenly we see Hank Pym busting through. You're too little to be playing with such dangerous toys, fella. And Thor's backing him up. Well done, giant man. But yet you know Mariner's no wimp, so he fights back. Though you are twice my size, my strength is still greater than yours. Still far greater, actually. And you hear Ant-Man, ah! Which actually at this point is Giant Man. Whatever you want to call him, Hank Pym. He bounces back and forth, right? Hulk then you see in a thought bubble thinking, I won't interfere. I want to see how good that skinny fish face is without me. And so we see Giant Man throwing Namor. But before the Sea Monarch can shift his weight in order to exert the maximum pressure, he's all yours. Thor, grab him. So they start playing ping pong with Namor. And Iron Man shoots him. No, Thor is too angry. Sometimes he doesn't know his own strength. So Iron Man's actually trying to protect him because he's afraid that Thor is going to smear him. So he hits him with a magnetic repulsor. But nonetheless, Namor is not out as he grabs Iron Man's leg, tells him that was a mistake. Taken by surprise, Iron Man receives a crushing blow, which damages his life-giving transistors. And Iron Man, you see in this thought bubble, can't continue. Battle must repair chest device. If transistors stop functioning, I'm doomed. And this is back in the period where, if you recall, Iron Man his very life was being sustained by the armor. And without that could easily be the end of him as the shrapnel moves towards his heart. And then you see Namor say, and now it's now to finish this charade. So we turn the page to see what happens next in this adventurous tale, and we see Thor fighting it out with none other than the Submariner. Back, Submariner, do not force me to strike your mortal body with my all-powerful mallet. In other words, he's saying, I will crush your skull, boy. You better back off. But Namor, the thick-skulled fighting Atlantean, says, all-powerful, bah! I'll prove once and for all how overrated you are, you costume clown. I don't know about you, I would not be calling Thor overrated. Thor's gonna paste that dude, right? So anyway, Hulk says, you're the clown, flathead, if you think you can lick Thor alone. So he jumps in the fray as well. But now that you've proved you can fight, I'll just step in and lend a hand. And Hulk tries to take his hammer, but he realizes he can't lift it. It was right, both of my hands against his one, and I can't budge the thing. But I gotta keep trying. I'm twice the size of him. I'm the Hulk. So he doesn't realize it's because of the power of the hammer. He just, thinking, maybe he's that strong. Unexpectedly, at the very split second, the mighty Thor releases his grip on the Uru hammer, and it whirls through the cave like a thing alive. I weary of this game. The hammer is yours. If you can grasp it, my muscles ache for battle, not tests of strength. And so once again we see Thor tumbling with the Submariner. Stay back, Hulk. I'll get the hammer. I'm faster than you. Fool, do you still not see that no one but Thor can possess the mallet? So while the fuss is going on and the battling pursues, the hammer comes back to Thor. To me, my enchanted club. And in the thought bubble of Thor we see, none ever must learn that I return to my mortal identity as Dr. Blake if my hammer is ever out of my hand for more than 60 seconds. So once again, if you were not familiar with Thor, they tell you here a nice little bit of exposition to understand that and about the character. Remember, they don't have a real long history yet of people, so this is a great way. In case you were wondering earlier about the 58 seconds or whatever, why did that matter so much? You now learn it here. And you see Namor on the ground. Hulk, where are you? I need you now. To my side, you lumbering oaf. And then we turn to Hulk. You'll never call me names like that again, Namor. I'll help you, all right. And when we've beaten the Avengers, I'll finish you next. But before the massive human dreadnought can reach his ally, a sudden change comes over him. And there in a gloom of the underground cave. No, I've become Bob Banner again. It must have been the excitement, the stress, and my normal self. They haven't seen me yet. They mustn't. There's still a chance I can run. I can escape while they're battling Namor. So he doesn't want them to know that he turns into none other than what he might perceive as a weakling Banner. In another few seconds, we might have won or been destroyed ourselves, but now we'll never know. Perhaps it's better this way. As Bob Banner, I have no hatred for the Avengers. I've nothing but a desire to flee to safety, showing once again that they are cognitively different, a true Jekyll and Hyde story of interest and wonder. And we cut back to the Avengers as they're fighting Namor. As Hank Pym has Namor grappled. Still think you're stronger than me, little man? And in Namor's head, you see the little thought bubble. Because now think about this. He's been away from the water a while. My power is leaving me because I have been out of the water for so long. I need the Hulk. Where is he? Has he deserted me? And Thor says, hold him, thus giant man, while I find the Hulk again. Victory is now within our grasp. So as you see, the tide is turning. Hulk has ran away because he transformed the Bruce Banner, which has nothing against the Avengers. And Namor, being a fish out of water, is drying out and starting to dwindle in power. Let's turn the page and see what happens next. And as we turn to what is the last page in the comic book, with aside from some advertisements that we're not going to discuss at this point, we are now to the last page of the battle. It says, but in our last effort, Namor uses his winged feet to hurl himself around and look at that. Look at him hit Giant Man and watch the hammer of Thor miss. This will prove that none can defeat the monarch of the sea. And so as he sees, he goes to escape. As Thor promised, his hammer whirls around Namor, driving him into the magnet repulsor field of Iron Man, where he is temporarily pinned against the stone wall. And you see, now I am free to battle the Hulk, but there is no trace of him. He has fled. And Namor says, he deserted me, betrayed me. Now I realize no human can be trusted. I despise you all. I've got news for you, brother, says Iron Man. It's mutual. We then cut back to Namor and Iron Man continuing to converse. Iron Man says, you're growing weaker by the minute, Namor. Why don't you give up? Let's try and talk this out. And Namor, being the hothead he is, says, never! While life remains within me, I shall fight you. I shall fight all mankind. And with one last big effort, the submariner cracks the wall behind him and the water trickles down on him. And you know the water revitalizes him. Water! At last! Then as new strength, the new power surges into every fiber of his being. I'm free. Nothing can hold me now. And boom, you see him breaking through with a powerful look. I mean, look at the art there. It looks powerful. He looks strong in that. It's really awesomely, dynamically well drawn. You see the Avengers all looking at it, escaping Namor. Thor, he's escaping. Only your hammer can stop him. Hurl it. Thor says, no, I have too much respect for his valor. Namor has earned his escape. And then Giant Man says, Thor's right. It's a pity the Submariner isn't on our side. And Iron Man says, we've made a bad mistake. He doesn't fight by our rules. We may live to regret this. And as the Prince of the Sea returns to his natural habitat, we see Namor. On land I could not defeat them. But I pray we meet again under the sea, and how different the ending then shall be. And so the Avengers return home, weary and sad of heart, for they all sense that the adventure they have just concluded is but the prelude to a far bigger, far more dangerous adventure to come. One thing you have learned to expect from the mighty Marvel Group is the unexpected, and we promise you that a movie-length tale in next issue's Avengers will feature super characters and super surprises to exceed your wildest expectations. So, in the comments section, let me know, do you want me to continue this Avengers retrospective? Do you want to jump into this next story and share it with me? And who knows, maybe Little Frugal or American Dream will pop in again and say hello. But one of the things that makes this issue spectacular, and remember this, is they were fighting none other than Namor, right? Which, if you follow Avengers lore, Namor later on becomes a member of the Avengers. He also becomes a powerful member of the Illuminati at one point as well, affecting the Marvel history as well. So he's a very prominent character, even though he's maybe never really been one to carry his own title for very long, or not ever really been the most popular character in the Marvel Universe. He has had a significant impact on it. Are you a fan of Namor? If you are, let me know in the comments section. If you don't really care for him, let me know that too. I've never liked him that much, to be honest. I always thought he was an okay character, but nothing super spectacular. All right. Well, with that said, I don't know about you, that energizes me to read the next issue. So as I said already, if you want the next issue, let me know in the comments. All right. So let me know. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please be sure to hit like and subscribe. And also, don't forget to hit that notifications bell. If you want to really help me out with this kind of stuff, you can go to the link below and you can help us all out by clicking on that Patreon and contributing as little as $1 per month. We would really appreciate it. All the support goes back into the channel. If we ever get to the point where we have more than that, it's going to go into the kids' college fund, so you'll know it'll be still helping kids in the future. All right, and until next time, keep it frugal.